Anne Woodcock from the River Tweed Commission and the Tweed Foundation. We're here on McCurston Beat and we are getting ready for the start of the 2026 salmon season. We've got a one-day fly fair this year. We've got fly tyers that have flown in internationally. So we've got John Schetz, who's come from the Netherlands. Also Phil Glendinning, he's from Aberdeen. He's one of the D salmon fly tyers. We've also got fly tyers from the Tweed as well, from Gavin Brown, Ian Wilson, Grant from Middle Merton, and also Connor from Cayley Trout Fishery.
Ghillie at Middle Merton, so again that's just upstream of Kelso. Good water, decent water for the salmon, good water for the trout. We have Newtown Association have a lot of the fishing on Merton Estate water, so kind of fitting round about that. If you're not optimistic, you shouldn't fish for salmon. You know, that's I think there'll be some good fish come out opening day. I think there'll be one or two. On opening day, Junction will always be a good shout. Hendersyde always a good shout. Upper Hendersyde a good shout. I think we're sitting about 2 foot of water maybe. So the bottom end will fish well. Floors maybe. So yeah, be good. Look forward to it.
So my name's Stuart Hardy. I'm here at the Kelso Fly Tying Fair. It's my second year here, so really pleased to be back again. What I do at shows is I show a collection of fly tying memorabilia from about the last 250 years or so. You can see it all here. What's really interesting for me is to show people this kind of window into the past, if you like. So quite a lot of the items are owned by famous old fly tyers and fly designers from the past, including Kelson's equipment. Kelson was like the godfather of salmon fly tying. He wrote the very famous Salmon Fly book, which you can see there. Sitting just behind that is Kelson's personal fly tying kit, which has a long story attached to it. I spent many years gathering parts of that back from around the world, so it's preserved for the community to see. There's another group of very interesting items over here that belong to General Beresford. There's boxes of flies, there's old tinsels, old materials, old feathers. So it really gives people an insight into the importance of where all this started. We have incredible synthetic materials nowadays, but this was the origin of all of it. So it's kind of outgrown me now a little bit. I'm sort of curating this really for the community. And we're going to form a trust fairly soon to look after this, so that once I've gone, it'll be looked after into the future. This is Kelson's personal hackle book from about 1880, 1890. Spent most of its life in a loft in London. So it's been incredibly well preserved, as you can see. These were pre-aniline dyes that were used, and yet remarkably they've stayed in incredible condition. So this is a great example of the kind of stuff that I'm trying to preserve. It shows us a different generation, a different era with attention to detail that we just don't find nowadays. And it was really important for Kelson to be able to display his materials like this, because he was kind of a fishing influencer of his day in a way, and he got all his invitations to country houses and so on based on being able to show off all his incredibly special materials from around the world. So this is a great example of the kind of thing I'm trying to find and trying to preserve, so that generations coming into fishing will know where it all started and so on. Eagle feathers, heron feathers from all over the world. Of course, now all of this material is protected by CITES. So for those interested in tying these famous patterns and so on, you've got to really look for items that are pre-1947. So items that are in taxidermy or old millinery and so on, so that you can actually secure these materials. Quite obviously, these are of that period, but it's something to bear in mind if it's something you want to get into.
It is a fly fair where people can come and tie a fly. They can come and find out a little bit about the River Tweed, about different flies. and also come and see the museum and buy some products as well that they're not going to find anywhere on the river as well. Well, this month we have been working with the children at Castlegate Nursery, and our boatmen have been going into the nursery and talking about the river. The children have painted with their artistic skills all the different fish. That we've had the men's shed involved. The men's shed have actually cut out the fish from recycled wood. Bex from Glaze and Gordon is the lady that kindly paid for all those materials for me as well.
So my name is Ben McCallum and I'm the Education Officer with the Tweed Foundation. So within my role, it's all about connecting more young people with the river. So we've got several different projects. We have our Go Wild for Fish programme, which is primarily aimed at primary schools. So we go into different classes, or we bring the class to the river and we showcase all the incredible different wildlife that we have in the Tweed catchment. The other project that we do is Tweed Start, which is all about introducing more young people into fly fishing. So it started off as a one-day introduction event, and we've progressed that into a sort of organised progressional pathway. So probably the offshoot of that we're most proud about is our ambassador programme. So young people that have gone through a 4 to 5 week course then become ambassadors, and then it's up to them to then keep learning, keep fishing, and ultimately help promote fly fishing to other young people. Whenever we do lessons, we try and make it as interactive, as engaging as we can. So if a class can't come to the river, then I'll bring in a selection of different fish species, and I'll also bring in some invertebrates from the river, bring it into the classroom so that they can actually look at these creatures up close and personal. And then we go through life cycles and identification and things like that. Where we can, we always try and encourage classes to come out to the river, so it's a field trip experience. So we can be really dynamic and we can cater to the needs of the schools. All of our lesson plans sort of fit in with the curriculum, so it's meeting the needs that the schools need to get, but also maybe giving an experience that the children might not necessarily get through their normal education programme. Yeah, I think as an angler, you're always optimistic. You know, I think that's probably one of the inherent characteristics of anglers, and I am. And I think that when you give nature a chance to recover, it will recover. And when you look at the fantastic work that the Tweed Foundation are doing and other fishery organisations right across the country that are working so hard with cutting-edge technology and cutting-edge science, it really gives us optimism. And one of the things that really keeps me going is that, particularly with the education side, that there's often a misconception now that, you know, children have so many external distractions, whether that be mobile phones and social media and you know, activities inside. But when you give a young person a fishing rod and they feel that tug at the end of the line, that magic is still there. And when you see just how enthusiastic and just how much the river means to these young people who are ultimately the future custodians of our rivers, that's what really gives me hope. And I think we're in a good place, and I think we're going to be in safe hands moving on into the future. So I have been obsessed since I was about 4 or 5 years old, and what's actually really nice, there's a tyer here called Ken Middlemist. So he was the last hardy fly dresser, and when I was about 8 years old, Ken took me out onto the River Allen in Northumberland, and I caught my first trout with Ken. So to see him after 35 years at this event, and for him to see that it obviously had a big impact on me as an angler has just been fantastic. So I've always fished trout predominantly, travelled all around the world in pursuit of trout, but nothing quite beats the Tweed.
Well, out here last year, I got an invite, just sort of to carry on doing what I've done all my life. I would think here today, I'm possibly the only one that's done it as a job. I class myself as a fly dresser, not a fly tyer. And I've loved every minute of it. I've fished all my life. My dad, he liked his fishing. We had an angling club with Hardy initially. This is the original badge. Collectors, but nobody's going to get it. Yeah, we got the chance to fish on the Tweed at Peebles. I had a 20-pounder. I was expected to do 3 dozen full dressed a day. These are my first flies. The tip, the hackle, the body. If that wasn't right when I was getting trained, razor blade, cut them down, do it again till it was right. From that, you went on to plain dressed flies, where I was expected to do 4 dozen a day. So you can get all these fancy tools now, you know. But I'm sorry.
That's all you need.
That's me. And a double needle.
Bit of beeswax.
You can get a hair stacker, you can get a whip finish tool, you can get whatever. Bobbin holders. That's my bobbin holder. I acquired that in a few more colours from a car boot.
For the last 3 years, I have wanted a poster box topper. Speaking to Elaine Munn in Ireland, she actually is the sister of Stevie Munn of the Irish Fly Fair, and she also designs these wonderful, wonderful dolls. Mentioned it to her, she said, I'll produce you some dolls. Well, this whole box of wonderful, we've got dolls, we've got fish, we've got ducks, we have everything you could think of. The postbox isn't just a normal size postbox either, it is a huge postbox. And so we needed a lot of things, and you can see from it, people are stopping, they're taking photographs, they're taking video content. It has been such a success, and we're truly grateful to have that connection between not only the Tweed Fly Fair, but the Irish Fly Fair as well. Well, the first thing is that we're going to have a gathering here in the town square. We've got Sarah Jane Lane from the Scottish Land and Estate. She heads that up. She's actually going to be blessing the river with a quake of Glenkinchie whiskey, but at the same time, the weather seems to have really improved. Last week it was absolutely dreadful. It looks like the river's going to be fishable now. We've got some particularly talented anglers on this river around this section of it. And we've got anglers from Sweden, from Norway. You tend to find they catch the first fish as well. And then at the end of the day, we'll all be going to Finn and Game. There's a celebration there, and the actual person that catches the first fish, more than likely, if one's going to get caught, it'll be about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they'll actually be presented with this amazing trophy, which has been created by Jason Sweeney, and they get their name engraved on it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, what? If I stand here, I can find.
Trouble is, I can't be finding anything.
Lovely day for it. Well, just what you want a bit.
I'm so grateful that you've waited around in the rain to listen to Jamie and I this morning. But I did want to say a few words about the work that Scottish Land and Estates and its members do along the catchment, as Jamie said. Because today is not just about fishing, it is also a celebration of the collective stewardship and the benefits that that brings to the river. So we and our members work along the catchment with the River Tweed Commission and all the other catchment stakeholders to deliver that kind of coordinated approach to catchment management. They plant trees, they restore riverbanks, they carry out work to reduce diffuse pollution from the land, all of which is so important for the salmon. Because it's not just about protecting the precious fish stocks, it's also about supporting farming, the businesses which I rely on the tourism that comes to the borders and make such a significant input to the economy. The Tweed's international reputation really has been earned through generation after generation of responsible land and river management, and that balance between people, jobs and nature remains as important as ever today. It's also rightly viewed as a strong example as to what can be achieved when everyone works together on a common goal. Ghillies working with farmers, the conservation bodies working alongside the River Tweed commissioners and Scottish Land and Estates to deliver that healthy river. So like many of you here today, I'd say that the River Tweed runs through me. It's ran through my life. So today I think we honour not just the salmon, but the borderers, the border spirit. Determined and enduring, we are like the salmon, shaped not by still water, but by the long pull upstream. And like the salmon, many of us have left, or we journey far afield, but we always feel the call of the Tweed, asking us home. So thank you all for coming. As I said, I'll keep it short. I do think it's worthy to celebrate the start of the season. Someone once said to me in the square a couple of years ago, I think it was a Norwegian angler, that we should realise in Kelso that Kelso is to salmon fishing what St Andrews is to golf. And I think that's something we should bear in mind and keep celebrating what salmon brings to this area. Thank you. Here's to a great season and tight lines. Thank you. So it's okay, so we stopped all the cars so we don't have to worry about crossing the road. You're very good at singing, well done everybody.
So I'm Jamie Stewart and I'm the Chief Executive of the River Tweed Commission and the sister charity, the Tweed Foundation. So principally the statutory body, the Commission looks after the policy and governance and enforcement on the river, where the science it's done to support the management of the river is carried out principally by the Tweed Foundation. Yeah, really excited about the opening. It's something that traditionally Tweed would have been a fairly mute affair, but in the last kind of 5 years when we employed a comms officer in Anne Woodcock, we decided we should have a celebration, and it's grown year on year. The buy-in from the local community has been incredible, from nursery children to shops and businesses really supporting it and buying into the opening of the season.
Oh, John!
The Atlantic salmon would be declining from North America to southern Portugal, so everywhere across its entire range has declined, which of course tells us that it's not a unique problem for any individual river or country to deal with. So that collaboration and the higher scale is really required. So governance and policy decision making. NASCO, the North Atlantic Salmon Conservation Organisation, is the organisation that represents the European stock. So we feed into that really to try and understand why so many are failing to return back to their natal rivers. So Tweed's a really healthy system, really healthy catchment. I say catchment numerous, so we've got 13 named sub-catchments, and in all likelihood each of those rivers would be a named salmon river anywhere else in the UK, such as our success, and historically it has been the key river in Europe, and it still is today. Having said that, we have equally suffered decline as everyone else has. We had the catastrophic floods in 2015. I think Storm Desmond took out a goodly number of the spawning reds, which we've seen that immediate impact over the next 4 seasons where they declined. And the river's recovered. Recovering would be probably the answer. We're certainly down on the average of 10 years ago, but it's been sustainable for the last 10 years. So Tweed's got a lot of things going well for it. However, that's not to say we can't do better and do more.
Listen to them. Yeah. Good. The path.
A wee bit.
Yeah. I know this is, yeah. That's all right, I've got my wellies on. I feel like an old lady, I didn't even
Oh,
feel.
behave yourself.
All right, right, you're fine, I'm fine.
Right, I'll get John to say a few words.
Before you get to do it a couple of times.
That's fine, and I'll try not to do what the politician did, which was throw it that way.
So
Oh my
good morning
goodness.
again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are beside the river. You can see we have active angling behind us. So the best movie script dinner is that when Sarah Jane throws the whiskey in, it hooks a salmon. So that's everybody cheer when that happens. So we will probably do this once or twice.
Okay.
Cameras like to see it done more than once. It's a waste of good whiskey, but I think the river deserves it, and Sarah Jane deserves the honour of delivering it.
So I'm Sarah Jane Laying. I'm the Chief Executive of an organisation called Scottish Land and Estates. So we are a membership organisation that represents rural landowners, rural businesses, and when it comes to the Tweed, that means that we represent the owners, of the riparian owners along the bank, and the farmers, the foresters, everyone who's managing land along the Tweed. So as an organisation, I mean, we farm, we manage land with nature. It's so important that, that we have a think about the habitats, the ecosystems, and when it comes to the Tweed, it's about water temperature, it's about water quality. So what the land manager are doing are thinking, what are they doing on the banks and on the fields that's impacting on the river? So, we've had a history of excessive runoff from the fields because of soil quality. Farming practices which have increased diffuse pollution. So again, that's had a big impact on the Tweed. But also kind of thinking about now, what can we do to reverse the kind of global rise in water temperatures? So we've got lots and lots of members who are looking at riparian planting. So, we removed trees in the past to, extend the areas that we had to farm, but we're now kind of recreating those buffer strips at the side of the Tweed to create the overhang, to try and find those sheltered spots. And really just kind of think about how the land and the river are managed together, because I think that's what we used to do in the past. And I think certainly in the last 10, 20 years with the Tweed Commission, the Tweed Forum, there's been a kind of growing collaboration that's kind of evident on the Tweed. So lots of people thinking not just about what the yield is from the farmland, but how does what they do in the land impact on the Tweed? Because, for us in the borders, I'm a Kelso girl, that for us in the borders, the Tweed, is at our heart. So, it's a real indicator, not just of the health of nature when it comes to salmon stocks, but it's an indicator of how kind of prosperous the area is. So, we really care about the Tweed. And I think, as I say, that's been evident in a kind of change of approach in land management practices.
To the audience before.
Yes, so let's give thanks to the river and everything that it delivers for the land, for nature, for jobs and communities. May the river be protected, respected and enjoyed in the season ahead. And bless this river and everyone who fishes it. Tight lines.
Hooray!
Do you want it bigger? There's quite a lot in it. Don't put so much in it. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
This is a real waste of whiskey, I have to say.
Just try a little bit more, just a bit more this.
This way? This way?
That's it. Run.
Is that all right? Do you want one more?
Let's get a wee picture of the two.
Yeah, with the...
So I've been to river openings, the Tweed and the Tay before, and I've supported. But my goodness, it's a real honour, not just in terms of Scottish Land and Estates, but as a Kelso girl to be asked to do this. And like I say, the Tweed is so important, and it's interesting because I was speaking to somebody recently about just how tied up the Tweed is in our identity as borders, and I think we probably share a few of those kind of characteristics of the salmon. That
we've not had an easy ride here in the Borders over the last few centuries. So, our strengths have been kind of built by that, that resilience that that salmon have. But we've also got a really, really strong connection with home. So it doesn't matter where borders kind of go in the world, we tend to be drawn back, and maybe that's to do with the Tweed, maybe that's to do with that kind of salmon as well, a bit of salmon in all of us in the Borders. So a real honour. If my dad was around, he'd be really proud, but he might be a bit surprised. I'll be blunt. I think some of my ancestors had a rather loose relationship with seasons and permits and fishing laws.
Ian Farr, I'm the head ghillie at Bemersyde Estate on the River Tweed, and I've been here since 1987, so nearly 40 years. On Bemersyde here, this is where we are in the boat pool, so at the middle of the beat. We have a mile of water on single side, and we have just under half a mile of water on the far bank. Split, we've got 10 name pools on the beat, starting from top to bottom, and we fish 4 rods in the summertime, and we fish up to 6 rods in the winter. I'm just here by myself in the summer months, and then in the winter time we have a second ghillie come in from September, October time. Yeah, we have a chance for fish in February, but a very small chance this far up the river. We normally look to start catching our fish end of March and April time, and as the summer months come on, we should start to catch more and more of them to come in. Yeah, we had we did. We had a very big fish in 2012 in the October time, which we put in the book around somewhere between 40 and 45 pound. So a very nice fish at the top end of the beat. Took the gentleman about just over an hour to get it in. We were quite amazed how big it was when it came. Yeah. Well, new season, new start. We're always optimistic at the beginning of the year. We'll find out in the first 2 months what sort of the spring's going to be like. Once we start catching a few more fish down the river, we can have an idea what we're going to catch later on in the year.
What's your name, sir?
Magnus.
And where are you from?
Sweden.
How many years have you been coming to fish the Tweed?
I think it's about fourth time. That was the first time. Well, I was down the river in the boat, fishing I forgot what the pool's name is, but I was using this one. I think it's called Magneta. I was quite surprised that it was a springer. We thought in the beginning that this is a Celt because it started shaking. But over and over it was quite powerful, and as soon as the ghillie saw it on the surface, he said, "I think it's a fish." I said, "Don't come off, please." It was 7 pound.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Redding. I'm Chief Commissioner of the River Tweed and been in post now for 2 years, and during that time we sort of moved things on from being broadly a passive organisation in terms of being a lot more active in terms of the conservation and protection of and improvement of salmon on the River Tweed. The River Tweed has been one of the top rivers, Atlantic salmon fishing rivers in the world for a couple of centuries. During that time, runs have been good, catches have been good, but the salmon is now a species under threat, and it requires a lot more effort in order to protect it and preserve it. Some of the things that we've done in the past is significant remediation on the Ettrick in 2000, when literally there's almost millions spent, habitat improvement, fencing off, putting trees in the ground. And since then, we've brought all the nets off the river apart from one. And more recently, we introduced 100% voluntary catch and release across the catchment. Not that the catches on the Tweed aren't sustainable, but more from a point of view of supporting other rivers where it's a lot more difficult. So with the Tweed taking a strong stance on catch and release, it enabled pretty much every other river in Scotland to push the benefits of catch and release. We now return somewhere between 98 and 99% of our fish. Based on our catches, that's a significant number of more fish that are hitting the spawning ground. And we're really pleased with the efforts that the bailiffs and the Ghillies especially and the people that come up to the fish Tweed and its catchment. Interestingly, when you start thinking logically about management of rivers, everything's joined together. Everything that happens on the land will have an impact in the river at some point. For a number of years, the engagement with the forum was perhaps not as good as it could have been, but we're fixing that now. We're now closely aligned in terms of the work that we're doing, especially in and around tree planting, in peatland restoration, and working collaboratively with the foundation being clear in its mission on what's actually happening inside the river itself, and the forum working, outside of that, all around the catchment. And we think we've got a great team in place now. Structures are important if you want to be successful. I expect that 2025 will be one of the worst seasons on record in Scotland. Tweed is maintaining its pretty much its 5-year average. But there's a lot of work to be done now. The idea that we can just sit and stand still and hope that this is just cyclical events and everything's going to happen. There is overwhelming evidence now that out at sea, the salmon are coming under a significant amount of pressure. And we have to do something. As a catchment, we need to make sure that our output of smolts is the best it can be. And clearly cold water as a strategy, maintaining temperatures that are suitable for salmon to thrive and support. Really excited about a programme the Foundation have introduced, started last year. It's called Guardians of the Tweed, and it's sort of broadly based on some of the work that the Rivers Trust do with a large volunteer workforce. And we want to extend that to sort of between 80 and 120 volunteers. 100 volunteers can plant 2 kilometres of tributary at very, very low cost over a weekend. So all of a sudden this idea of how do we fund some of these projects becomes a little bit more simpler with a large volunteer workforce. It's the king of salmon rivers. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the king. It's made up of a large number of tributaries that are all slightly different. We now understand that there's no such thing as a Tweed salmon. We have a genetic stock of 7 or 8 different strains of salmon that exist. We get big fish, we get small fish, we get fish from the 1st of February all the way through to the 30th of November. The salmon season on Tweed is the longest in the country. You know, we're very, very fortunate, and you know, living here, you know, 500 yards from the river, it's just such a privilege.
So I'm John Kitchingham, I'm head Ghillie at Hendersyde. It's about 3 miles down from Kelso. It's fishable. We'd like it probably a foot lower or something, but yeah, I think we'll stand a chance, I think. Yeah, no, it's promising. Yeah. So if we can wet a line, that's a bonus on the opening day. We're on basically black and yellow monkey kind of tube flies. You know, you won't go far wrong on the Tweed with the black and yellow in spring. Basically just a kind of gadgety kind of line to cut across that horrible east wind. A 15-foot, fairly fast sinking tip on the end. We'll probably go to something a bit more intermediate-like, I think, later on, give that a try. Yeah, sort of standard kit for us. We've had a couple kelts this morning. You know, beautiful condition, but it's a high water, so you know they'll be helped out to sea by now, I'd imagine, most of them.
And you caught a particularly big fish.
Oh yeah, that was a few years ago, wasn't it? That was 33 pounds with Wayne. Yeah. That was just in the cottage stream here. Yeah, that was the best springer in decades of the Tweed on the fly, and it went back healthy and went on to do its thing, so it was good. No, it was, I doubt I'll ever see a springer like that again. It was good.
Are you optimistic for the season?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think if we can actually get fishing, I think we'll due some rain, so because it's the lowest it's been through the winter. So we're bound to get some rain at some point. This will be my 30th now, I think, 30th year now, I think. Make me feel old, Anne.
And normally every year on opening day we catch a fish, and today we've caught 3. And I don't think the conditions have been really conducive to fantastic salmon fishing. There's been a lot of water in the river. Karam caught the first fish, and I guess Lee will probably confirm that conditions were perfect for down Karam. So a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if the fish was more surprised than you were, Lee, but nevertheless we got one. And delighted to present the trophy to Magnus Backstrom. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, you won't be able to bring it on the plane and take it on with you. It stays here, but well done. I'm absolutely delighted. Thank you. All the best. You need to say a few words?
Yeah, I only think I can compare this to winning an Oscar or something.
It's better than winning an Oscar, trust me.
But I sincerely, as they always do when I win a prize, I have to be my guest, Lee. That's your business, and you did it very, very well done.
Thank you.